Hello and happy holidays. My name is Abby and welcome to another installment of my E24 project, Project Makeover. When we last left off, my engine work was partially done and my electrical work also partially done. So tonight we are going to progress by moving on to something else entirely because I haven't made good use of my big mechanic stick in a while and it's pretty fun. We're going to start off by removing the front suspension and front brakes, which coincidentally come off at the exact same time on the E24. Then we're going to move on to the rear, pull off those brakes, pull off that suspension, and then drop the rear subframe. Meanwhile, I'm going to find time to interact with nature. Use a deft, delicate hand on my classic car. And put on a fashion show. The carnage.
The carnage.
The carnage, huh? Now, I have no way of knowing when the last time the wheels came off of this car, but judging by the extensive dry rotting around the bead and the 2007 date code, it's safe to assume that these wheels probably haven't been off in the last decade. Aren't you coming off? If at first you don't succeed, try but with feet. Try harder. No, much harder. And then just make it somebody else's problem. Oh, fuck you.
Oof.
Oh, yeah. All right. This is in such good shape. The lack of rust is just astounding. So this is the rear, and still such good shape. Even these little rivets in the metal piece here, no rust. It's time for suspension removal, and right away we have a problem. The retention screw for the rotor is completely rounded out. So, gonna solve this delicately.
Give that a shot.
Alright. I've turned the Allen bolt into a Torx. I'm so jazzed with that. There we go. You were really in there. Okie dokie. Get that done. Gonna get the brakes off first, because this whole thing weighs a ton with the rotor still attached, so I'm gonna try and minimize the weight as much as I can before dropping the whole strut. Jesus. Get off this stupid spring. Okie dokie. Got you off. And let's get you out of the way. these rotors are so lipped that the caliper and pads won't slide off. Not without some encouragement anyway. There we go. The boots are intact, but not great. Just definitely original. Rusted. A little pitting. Not too bad. Alright, I'm gonna zip tie this thing to the control arm, get it out of the way. Attempt number 1, number 2, and number 3. There you go. Jesus. Fuck. Alright, those were really on there. Oh, it's off. This stupid speed sensor is stuck. Whole suspension comes apart super easy and I get stuck on a sensor. Isn't that always how it goes? Yep, she's not moving. Jesus. Speed sensor still hasn't come off. Been going at it with the pry bar as gently but firmly as possible. So, I'm gonna go to the next step, a bigger pry bar. Got it. Just some strategic prying and breaking off old rust. So now I just gotta pry it loose off the steering arm, just like that. Sweet. Now I can lower it from the top. So in case, like me, you weren't familiar with the E24 suspension design, as you can tell by now, this all comes out as one solid piece. It's not like traditional coilover kits on modern cars where the strut slips out of the knuckle down here. So you have to be sure when you get new suspension that it fits into this. Next is pulling down the rear suspension, and I did not leave myself very much room to work. And yes, I could open the door, but it's nice and cool in the garage and it's not nice and cool outside, so I think I'd rather deal with restricted space. Being short has its advantage, allegedly. Not that I've yet to find. The nut on the back side of the strut shock is so far back I can't reach it from outside the car, so now I have to do it from in here. Not super happy about that. It smells like old beef stew back here. And there's spiders. Jesus Christ. All right, let's make this fast. There's another fucking spider. God damn it. No, wrong way. Jesus. Can't Get away from spiders if you're turning the fucking nut the wrong way. And the more I unscrew this, the more my wrench is scraping against the top here. Which, if this carpet piece were in place, I wouldn't be able to do this. Who thought this was a good design? How do they expect human beings to reach this? Jesus. Oh my god, how are there more spiders? Okay, all in one piece. Hooray. Let's take a look up top. Make sure nothing's rusty. No. Looks fantastic. Would anybody like to take bets on whether or not the rotor retention screw strips? Text me your votes in the next 5 seconds and you may win a prize. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ha! Didn't strip. Fucking spiders! Jesus fuck! Ah! I had had enough and decided to deal with this spider problem head on. It's not that I don't like spiders, I just don't want them near me, on me, or jumping out at me when I'm working on my car. They freak me out, I don't want them in here. So after I bravely walked away from the situation, is this entire goddamn car made of spiders? I threw a fogger in the garage to give the spiders an opportunity to pack their bags and relocate elsewhere through the gaps in the bottom of the garage door. I gave the garage a few days to air out, and hopefully there aren't going to be any more jump scares hiding under the car for me. Not for spiders this time. I needed a different hammer. I needed a different hammer. You have seen better days, my friend. I removed the sway bar, and the ultimate goal here is to drop my whole subframe. Next thing I need to remove to do that is the exhaust. So I've got to remove the muffler, and then I've got to remove section 2. I usually try to consult the manual just to see if there's any problem areas I should know about, any hidden bolts, anything like that. This manual's generally kind of useless, but it did have this little fun bit of information. It said, when removing exhaust components, do not try to reuse the hangers or any of the hanging hardware, and that your chances of doing so, and I quote, are slim. So these are all shot anyway, but I do love the confidence. This is my muffler. Got the, there we go. Got the rubber hanger up there. which connects to this bracket here. Now, the muffler is supposed to be held on by this bracket, which then bolts to a bottom bracket that goes over to this side. Right there. But I'm assuming the bottom bracket broke or rusted out, and so what they did was they permanently welded the bracket to the muffler, thereby leaving any future idiots, i.e. me, to deal with the problem. What's interesting is it's supposed to bolt side to side. So this one still has the bolt on it. And then this one, they turned the bolt inward and just punched it into the muffler. I don't understand it. I do not understand this at all. So anyway, so this makes getting the muffler off a little more difficult, but not a huge deal. And then the problem kind of continues further up with other spotty welds. I'm going to replace the entire exhaust system anyway. So what I've decided is I'm just going to drop the whole thing out as one piece, because that just seems easier. So my plans for taking the exhaust out all as one assembly actually worked out, and then it also solved a couple of mysteries. I thought I had heard an exhaust leak, and it sounded pretty bad, and now I understand why, because there were multiples. Look how bad this one is. And it looks like it was leaking out two sides on the front header, and then two sides on the back header. And then, I guess for California emissions, they had to weld in a catalytic converter, which meant they had to put in an O2 sensor. And these wonderful looking welds were the result. So then, as we move back even further, we got another exhaust leak right here, little tiny guy, but more really just outstanding welds. And then as we keep moving back, so here's the bracket that they welded onto the muffler in the.
Where they weld what?
Yeah, so I already showed them this, but yeah, just really good welds again. And then the muffler itself. So let you guys hear what it sounds like. So this muffler is not gonna last much longer anyway. Classic car stuff. Okay. Finally ready to get the subframe down. So I need to disconnect the drive shaft. Need to disconnect the e-brake lines. And then I think I'll be ready to unbolt this thing. Sweet. So to drop the subframe, I need to take off the e-brake because the cables are still running through here and I don't want to have to deal with that whole mess. So I'm going to take them off from the back. The other option was removing them from the front, but I wanted to do it this way. So there's a correct tool to do this, and I don't have it. So I'm going to use a pick and a big pair of needle nose. And there we go. This is normally rusted to all hell, like including the actual e-brake mechanism, and it looks, you know, it's dirty, but it looks kind of new. Like it looks really, really good. This is great shape. I wish I could say the same about these blessed wheel speed sensors.
Boom.
There we go.
Perfect. It's all about knowing the right tool for the job. There's a crimp clip down here too.
And right out.
Okay, so is that everything disconnected from the subframe?
It is. So just to show everyone what I did, I cut the finger off of a glove and zip tied it around this end here just to keep the brake fluid from going everywhere, and then capped off this end with a little rubber boot.
That is the E36, E46 generations.
I'm just happy that the e-brake cable wasn't mounted, like routed through the subframe. And thankfully I had a volunteer to help me get the subframe down.
Close your eyes.
Jesus. You good?
Yeah.
Oh, that worked. Sorry, I truly did not mean to involve you in this.
Uh-huh.
You just came out and looked like you wanted something to do.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna bring all the parts over to show the carnage.
The carnage.
The carnage, huh? So I think that's enough work for one day. I'm gonna call it there. Got the front and rear suspension off, including the rear subframe. So I'm just gonna stop. Next time, gonna start replacing all the bushings, all the suspension, everything that can actually ship, which isn't everything that I hoped, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Please let me know what you think and what you would like to see in the future. Take care. Happy holidays.